right, we are going to continue here with our discussion of quadratics. And in this last section that we're going to do on vertex form, we want to look at what happens if I've already got the graph, and instead of finding the graph from the equation, I want to find the equation based upon the graph that I have. So we're going to make us a little coordinate plane here and mark us off some units, and these are done in units of 1, and we're going to graph our function, and we don't know at this point what the equation of our graph is. All we know is what this looks like. So there's my function. So can I figure out what my graph is? And it's a little hard for you to see on your screen, so I'm going to give you a few of these points and tell you what some of these coordinates are. Make it a little easier for you to see. This vertex is at the point 3, 7, and we go through the point 2, 4, and 4, 4. We'll just label this one right here as 4, 4, and then we go through the point 5, -5, and 1, -5. 5 and -5. So there's my function. So now we want to figure out what is the equation of this graph. So f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So let's figure out what numbers need to go in each of those places. We already said our vertex was the point 3, 7. And let's recall from what we know about quadratics that the vertex can be found from our equation as hk, which means this 3 is going to be h and this 7 is going to be k, which gives us so far f of x is equal to a parentheses x minus 3 squared plus 7. And we have plugged in, we have substituted our values for h and k because we know where the vertex is. And if we want to put this in vertex form, that's fairly simple. So let's figure out what are we going to do about this a? Well, we know a couple of things. First of all, we know a has to be less than 0. And we know that because of the shape of our graph. Our graph is opening down, and our graph only opens down if we have an a that is less than 0. So we know that this is going to be negative something. A is equal to negative something, and we have to figure out what. So how do we go about figuring out what that value is? Well, here's probably the easiest way to do that. We know this point right here, and we know that it is 4, 4, and it's coming from this vertex. So let's talk about where did I go from the vertex to get to that point? Well, I came down 3 and over 1 to get to that next point, which means that the value of a is going to be 3 times the value of a normal function. So a is equal to -3. So I now know the equation of my function in vertex form given my graph. It's f of x is equal to -3 parentheses x minus 3 squared plus 7. And I found my equation from the graph instead of finding my graph from the equation. We'll look as we go along at some other forms of this quadratic and how to find them as well. But for now, we have the equation of our graph given the graph itself.